creators and manifesting generators. I thought you might like to join me for a 2025 identity upgrade, do a little bit of work on our self-concept to align it with our generator MG aura. Our minds are thinking about our design can really dull the magnetism of our auras if we have a lot of beliefs about ourselves that just aren't in alignment with what excites us, what energizes us, where our energy wants to go. So we can start thinking differently today and carry this with us into the future, and it will have such a big impact on the things that you magnetize into your life, the things that are available for you to respond to, and you'll just feel so much more confident in living your design and honoring your sacral authority or emotional authority. So an identity upgrade is always rooted in your self-concept, and your self-concept is basically your internal perception of who you are. It's your beliefs, your thoughts, and your feelings about yourself. And these are really important because it affects so much how you perceive the world, what's available to you, what's possible for you. It shapes your identity, your behaviors, how you interact with the world, how you interact with other people. And it basically acts as the lens through which you view life. It affects the outcomes you have, the opportunities you get, and it also makes a big impact on the choices that you make. When we have a negative self-concept or a self-concept that just isn't aligned with who we actually are in our auras, in our human design, in our DNA, we probably aren't going to feel open to make the kind of sometimes illogical feeling choices that we need to make to stay in alignment with ourselves. Because sometimes the things that our sacral guides us to, or that our inner authority guides us to, aren't the most logical to our mind. And so if our mind has a certain idea about what is possible for us or the types of choices we have to make, it can be really hard to honor those gut responses or what comes through your emotional authority and actually fully express yourself in the world. And that's always the goal here with human design, is to fully express our unique selves. And I view this as kind of a cheat code to living on the planet. My deconditioning process has been so much about looking at what's out there. What are the ways that we can make money? What are the ways that we can have relationships? What are the ways that we can create things in the world? And my goal is always to see if I can do that in the way that feels the most natural to me, the most energizing to me, so that I'm not forcing myself to fit into someone else's mold. And this is not an easy journey. It definitely hasn't been easy for me. I'm still working at carving away that old conditioning about this every single day. But I've come to see that you can be fully successful, you can fully make money, you can be fully loved and supported just by being yourself. It just requires letting go of some beliefs and some things and persevering in that direction and taking some risks. So even though you might not always see the support immediately from the outside world, it's almost like you have to kind of crack through this old energetic web of what's been going on for centuries, millennia, whatever's going on, in order to do it in your own new way. And when you are on your side, when you have your back, when your self-concept and the way you think of yourself and the way that you approach the world aligns with who you truly are, it's so much easier. Because when you know that you're there to support you and you're not looking to the outside world always for validation, because you might not get that immediately, then things just go so much easier. So today we're basically going to do an upgrade that is generally in alignment with our generator and MG auras. Just the most foundational things. You can use this process with any aspect of your life, anything that you would like to upgrade for yourself. So it's not just applied to these few concepts, but today we're just going to do this together because it's always nice to do something with someone else so that it doesn't feel like homework you have to take home. Basically, the way an identity upgrade works, or a way that you work on your self-concept, is recognizing what beliefs you currently have, evaluating whether they suit you, and figuring out some new beliefs that you could begin to replace them with. And then really showing up in the world and making decisions in alignment with that belief, and then just reinforcing it, because all of this takes a lot of repetition. Our minds don't learn a new concept typically just like the first time we tell it. So we have to kind of create that new neural pathway, create that new belief till that path feels really strong. It's like walking through a path in a forest. The first time you walk through, it's really not going to make that much of an impact. But if you take that route every day for a year, there's going to be a really nice, well-worn path that's very easy to follow. So that's basically what we're doing in our brains, is just creating these new ways to think about ourselves. So I've chosen 4 beliefs that we can integrate into our self-concept today that are relevant to us as generators and manifesting generators, people who are here to follow what brings us joy, what is energizing, and what is meaningful for us. And those are: number 1, I am energized by what I do every day, because as generators and MGs, we deserve to use our time and energy on things that feel really good to us, that are energizing, that make us want to get out of bed in the morning, that are things that fill us up with energy and that feel like at the end of the day, we are just good tired. We have used up all of our life force and we're satisfied. And we're ready to go to bed and wake up and do it the next day refreshed. So we deserve to feel that every day in our jobs, in our family obligations, in whatever it is that we're using our time and energy on, our creative outlets, our hobbies, whatever it is. The second belief is I am magnetic and things always come to me. As generators and MGs, we have the most magnetic auras of any type. So we don't have to chase things down. We don't have to work hard to make things happen. We don't have to force anything. Things always want to come to us. That's why our most important mechanism is that yes and no. It's not just yes and it's not just no. We need both. We need no to say no to the things that aren't correct for us, because not only the things we want come to us, everything comes to us. People offer us all sorts of things, opportunities, ideas, and we have to have the discernment to know whether it's something that's for us or not. It's so common as a generator or MG to get roped into a lot of things that just are not energizing for you. And that can really dull our magnetism as well. So it's important to know when to say yes and when to say no. But the most important thing is to remember that we are magnetic. We don't have to chase anything down. When we feel that we desire something or we have a response to something, we don't immediately have to say, how am I going to figure out how to get that? What are the things that I logically have to do? What are all the steps? Instead, we can allow those things to appear before us naturally. We don't have to reverse engineer everything. We don't have to come up with a plan. Recently, I had someone ask me about what I was doing in my business this year, and if I had a plan. Do I have a 3-year plan? And I was like, honestly, no. At this point right now, I don't even really have a 2-week plan. I definitely don't have a month plan. And that's okay, because as a generator, everything is always coming to me. I am in a place now where I feel confident enough to allow spaces in my life. So when there are spaces, I know that's because something big is about to come for me. And I can trust that I'll be able to jump into action at exactly the right time and complete everything when I need to. And that is so much more productive for me than trying to make a plan just because my mind wants one. So I trust that I magnetize all the ideas, opportunities, questions, inspiration, activities that I need in order to be successful in my life. So remember that you are magnetic and everything comes to you. Number 3 is I trust my inner guidance. This is so important. This is your sacral authority or your emotional authority. And when we really make it part of our self-concept that we always trust our inner guidance, then we'll always be in the right places with the right people, making those correct decisions that are going to be energizing, meaningful for us. It doesn't mean that things always go perfectly. I am a 3rd line profile. Many of you are as well. And part of my life path is to make mistakes. But the mistakes I make when I honor my inner guidance, they feel productive. It's like, okay, I needed to experience that in order to learn this. I feel like I'm so much further along in my path of learning and what I needed to know and what I needed to feel and what needed to happen in order for me to get to this other thing I would like to do. So I trust those mistakes when they feel like they're the ones that I get to make, that I chose. Mistakes that you make or negative experiences that you have when you know you aren't listening to your inner guidance or you're just listening to something that someone else tells you, those can be super draining. Those can lead to burnout. Those can just feel really defeating because you were listening to a should or something that you felt like you needed to do or something that someone else told you to do. That doesn't tend to feel as good as any mistakes or difficult experiences you have when you are listening to your own inner guidance. So my goal with human design isn't to have a perfect life or to have everything turn out exactly the way I think it will. It rarely does. My goal is always to have a life that feels like it's mine, that it was correct for me, that it was the right path for me. me and that I was the one who ultimately got to make my own choices. And the final belief that we're going to integrate today into our self-concept as generators and MGs is that what energizes me is always the most productive thing I can do. So often we feel like, well, the things that are energizing or the things that are fun or the things that really excite me, those are just fluff. Like I won't be able to make money doing those. Or it's common to feel guilty, like I should be doing something that's more beneficial to somebody else. But really, you just have to trust that what is energizing for you is energizing for everyone around you. It's not just about you. Generators and MGs, we determine the overall life force of the planet. We set the tone that everybody else lives in. And when we are energized, we lift up everybody around us, including kids, family, coworkers. So it's so important that we really prioritize what feels energizing for us, because in the end, it's always going to be the most productive thing we can do. Sometimes things that are fun can feel unproductive. That's really what we've been taught by society. Oh, if you're enjoying that, if you're good at that, if that's natural for you, if that's something that you always feel like you want to do, maybe that's not the most productive. Maybe you should be over here working on this weakness. Maybe you should be sacrificing in this way. For example, I was in a career where I was paid pretty well. It was a pretty lucrative career path. Definitely had I stayed on, 5 years later, I would be making a lot of money. So it felt kind of illogical to quit that and start doing this thing where initially I had to figure out how to make money. On day one, when I started a blog in 2019, obviously no one was paying me to do that. And I felt like, well, I'll never make as much money as I did at my old job, etc., etc. That has not proven to be true. It took me a few years to get back to what I was making at my previous job, but now I work so much less. I enjoy my life so much more. And so many of the things I've created, including a book, will continue to pay me for decades. So even though at first, it maybe felt like, well, starting this business is not as productive as continuing with this career. In the end, now I make more than I ever made at that job. And not only that, but my life is just so much better in every way. I feel so much happier. I work so much less. I am so much more creative. I have so much more freedom in my life. So usually the things that are the most energizing for us, even if we can't understand at the moment, are always the most productive. So now we're going to walk through a quick exercise with these beliefs so that you can begin to integrate them into your self-concept, into your subconscious, and align with your generator MG aura out in the world.
Grab a notebook and pen or the notes app on your phone and let's get started.
So first we're going to start by identifying any beliefs you have about yourself that are currently part of your self-concept that are in opposition with these new beliefs that we are adopting as generators and MGs. So is there any part of you that feels like, I don't deserve to feel energized, or I always have to make things happen for me, that I cannot trust myself inside? Think about these things that have happened in your life that might have shown you that that wasn't true, usually through someone else, or made you believe that that wasn't true. Or that feeling that you had that to be productive, you had to always sacrifice or feel guilty about enjoying things. So think through anything that you might believe about yourself that would stop you from feeling energized and magnetic every day. Or like it's not safe to trust your inner guidance. So if you realize you have a belief like, oh, I should feel guilty for spending time and resources on something that's purely fun, or it's not productive to work at things I'm already good at, or everything you want in life, you have to go for it. Go ahead and brainstorm those, and usually you know if it's a belief you have. If you can kind of feel it in your body, you might feel a little bit of a contraction in your gut. You might feel some emotion welling up. That's usually a good indicator that you might have some kind of belief like this.
Now we're going to revisit the 4 statements we are incorporating into our self-concept. So take a look at your fears or negative beliefs that you wrote down and see how you could reframe those into more positive beliefs that affirm the new version of yourself you want to experience, these new aspects of yourself that you're incorporating into your self-concept. How can you remind yourself of who you really are as a generator or MG in a way that makes sense to you? These are the new beliefs you are using moving forward to counter any thoughts you have that try to tell you that you're not magnetic, that you don't deserve to be energized, or that you can't trust your inner guidance.
Next, we're going to do a little visualization exercise. If you're someone who doesn't see things in your mind, I also am not a super visual person when I close my eyes, so often I just try to focus on feeling and sensations in my body. So whatever form of visualization works for you, but we're just going to spend a couple of minutes imagining yourself as the most magnetic, confident, energized, trusting of your own inner guidance, that version of yourself. What would it be like to wake up like that? What would it be like to show up to work in that way? What would you do each day if you could just focus on the things that feel the most energizing for you? Take a little time now to visualize that. I'm going to give us 1 minute, but you could also pause this if it takes you longer. Now we're going to begin to act as if these things are true for us, because they are. If they're part of our self-concept, we very quickly start to see them reflected in our outer world. So it can be something as simple as if you previously doubted that you could make decisions with your sacral or your emotional authority. Maybe next time you have a decision to make, you say, no, I'm going to take a second here. I'm going to listen to my body. I'm going to tap into that. And I'm going to make that decision in alignment with my gut, or take that time I need to feel my way through my emotional wave. If you aren't very strong on listening to your authority, I have a lot of resources on my blog about that, and podcast, and lots of other paid courses and things too. So you can check those out. But it's these simple actions that say, I'm deserving of living in alignment with my aura. Maybe next time you feel a desire and you're like, oh, I want to do something, you say, no, I'm going to step back. I'm going to let that come to me. I'm going to wait until it feels like the right time, until I truly feel energized, until the next step is clear, instead of feeling like you have to scramble and make it happen and grasp at things. Some of these concepts can feel a little bit abstract. There isn't just like a checklist you do every day, but that's what makes them so amazing, because this is something that overlays our entire life. It's like an entire lifestyle to live in alignment with your aura, and it permeates every area of your life. And so you'll notice over time what those concrete things are that you can do to honor your aura and live fully in alignment with your unique self, your unique DNA. It could also be something like maybe you're given a choice between doing some activity that just is kind of meh for you. I mean, I get invites all the time from friends and family, And I don't always accept them just because they're friends and family. If it's truly an activity that is just going to be draining for me or negative for me, I'll say, you know what, you go do that. I'll catch up with you later. Let's do this other thing and find something else that's going to be more energizing, because that's precious time taken away from something that you could be doing that is energizing. So I'm not saying that sometimes you don't just go along with something sometimes because you want to spend time with someone. I think that's a totally healthy thing to do. But if you're just giving all of your extra time and energy away to things that other people want to do, take this opportunity to say, no, I'm going to prioritize what I want to do and maybe suggest something else, or just take that time for yourself and find some other way to spend time with that person in your life. My husband and I do not share a lot of hobbies because the things that I do are not energizing for him. The things that he does are not energizing for me. He's really big into cycling. He rides like thousands and thousands of miles per year. And often people ask him like, oh, doesn't Rachel go with you? Don't you want to get her into that? And I just know that doing it to that degree is not something that I would enjoy. And so we have other things that we do together. We can ride around the city together. We have a lot of different activities that we enjoy together. So we don't try to force each other into our hobbies just because we're married and we like spending time together. I love spending time with him. If we like to do the same things, that would be cool. That would be part of our relationship. But it's okay to have those separate hobbies and have these other things that we do together, like cooking, grocery shopping, house projects, creative projects, eating dinner together every night. It's just kind of like deconditioning from those beliefs of thinking that you have to use your time and energy in a certain way, and prioritizing those things that are genuinely energizing for you, that you love to do. And then the next thing, figure out a way to remind yourself of these new beliefs, of these 4 affirmations we're doing today, of the ways that you're going to implement these things going forward, all the things that I just listed, because we have to remember it has to be repetitive. Sometimes I'll take a sticky note, I'll write these things on and put it on my mirror so I see it every day. I'll put it at the beginning of my bullet journal so that I reference it over and over. And after a while, you'll just notice that these things are defaults in your daily life. Now, there are a lot of these things I don't have to remind myself that often. I'll only revisit them when I start to feel frustrated, because your whole life is reflecting that. It's like, when I first started my deconditioning journey, it was so challenging to just do things that were energizing. Now I almost never do something that's draining. I definitely don't make money that way. I don't force myself to do things like that in my business. And it's just a given in my life that I feel totally free to only do things that are truly energizing for me when I get the choice in my work life. So eventually you'll just see that these things are showing up in your life without you having to think about it too hard. But at first, it requires a lot of conscious keeping this at the forefront, reminding yourself that this is who you are, that you are energized, you are magnetic, that you trust your inner authority. With time, all of these will become true. And another thing, do not forget to celebrate your progress. When you notice yourself taking these actions, making these decisions, magnetizing things, notice it and celebrate it, because that is a big indicator that the deconditioning that you're doing is really working. If you have any questions about this, please leave them in the comments below. Let me know. Is there anything about being a generator or manifesting generator that is particularly triggering to you? I would love to hear that below. Thank you so much for upgrading your self-concept with me today, and I'll see you next time.
Make sure to like and subscribe because there are a lot more videos coming.